Welcome.
Good evening and welcome to the November 2nd meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast on cable channel 15 and streamed online by FCTV. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. I'd like to thank our staff for their continued support to this commission and their diligence assisting applicants. At the moment, we're missing Courtney. He'll probably be late. Remind you guys that for commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time. So please, no interrupting and speaking over each other. Also, all votes will be done by roll call. When I call your name, please state your name and your vote, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are located on the agenda. Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 regarding COVID-19 allows for full public participation. Therefore, if you would like to be heard on a specific hearing, please let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project can proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply. Therefore, the project will require a notice of intent application. Therefore, as an applicant, you want to hear a negative determination. And we have a bunch of hearings that are being continued. Bear with me. An RDA for 193 Coonamessett Circle is being continued. NOI for 14 Ridge Road, 127 Shorewood Drive, 9 Sycamore Street are all being continued. That's the benefit of anybody waiting for those, so that you're not waiting unnecessarily. All right, first up, vote minutes. August 31st, 2022, which was an executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the minutes and found them to be accurate. I'd move approval. Pat.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. Is there any questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Abstain, I was not present.
Okay. Melissa.
Tug, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. I'm sorry, with one abstention. We have accepted the minutes as submitted. Thank you, Kristen. Next up, vote minutes, October 19, 2022.
Chairman, I reviewed the minutes and I'd move approval. Patton.
Bird, second. Second.
Ooh, competition for the motions. I like it. We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of October 19th as submitted. Are there any questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Melissa.
Tug, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes. Thank you again, Kristen. Next up, other business. request from the Falmouth Rod and Gun Club to present a report from the Conservation Commission to town meeting on the Childs River Restoration Project. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Gary Anderson up as a panelist. The Falmouth Rod and Gun Club would like to make a presentation to town meeting under the auspices of the Concom under their committee reports. I have some slides that Gary has prepared for town meeting. I can share my screen, Gary, while you address the commission. Gary, you look like you're frozen. Oh, there you are, and you're muted.
I think he's frozen again.
I think Gary's frozen again. Oh, there he goes again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Gary.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the time on your agenda. As Jen mentioned, I'm asking for permission to make a report to town meeting. This will be under Article 2 of the fall town meeting. As you probably know, the Article 2 allows departments, boards, and committees to make reports. Our project is not any of those, and so we need to go under the auspices of a board, and so that's why I'm requesting a Concom. The project that I'm talking about is the Upper Childs River Restoration Project, and what actually the project began about 6 years ago when members of the Falmouth Rod and Gun Club met with Representative Dave Vieira, Falmouth and Mashpee Select Board and Concom members to float the idea of rehabilitating the Upper Childs River to create a cold water fishery, to return brook trout to the river, and then to restore the abandoned cranberry bog, which is the Farley Bog, to wetlands. Betsy Gladfelter and Jen Lincoln were at that meeting, and that was really the kickoff of it. Because the Farley Bog is surrounded by Rod and Gun Club land, and the Childs River flows through the middle of the bog, one of the critical path items for this project was to gain control over the bog to implement the conservation project. And as Jen had indicated at that meeting, it would enhance the opportunity to obtain grants. We estimated that the project was going to cost about $3 million, or pretty close to that. The club worked with the Conservation Commission and the legal department to get the Farley Bog parcel declared as surplus to the town's municipal needs. Concom subsequently recommended to the select board that the Farley Bog parcel be made available for transfer by sale or lease to the Falmouth Rod and Gun Club for purposes of facilitating the restoration of wetlands and upland fisheries. This became Article 3 of the special town meeting on April 4th, 2017. There were several conditions that were attached to it. Town meeting ultimately approved that article unanimously that night. Since the passage of that article about 5.5 years ago, the club has obtained nearly $2.8 million in federal, state, and local grants and awards. With those funds, the club completed the rehabilitation of the Upper Childs River, creating that cold water fishery, and we restored the Farley Bog to wetlands and waterfowl and wildlife habitat. Now, while the project has been completed and all the requirements imposed by the Article 3 have been met, we are continuing to do some work on the restoration project. With the help of Woodwell Climate Research Center, Webner, and APCC, we are monitoring water quality throughout the river. We participate in the biannual electroshock fish sampling census, and we're working with Woodwell Climate Research Center to monitor for the plant species in the bog. The slide that's in front of you there shows the before. There should be a before state there, Jen, if we could. That's the after state of the one.
Before state.
There we go. This was the South of Carriage Shop Road, there was a pond that was created by an earthen dam that surrounded that and really blocked the river and created a pond on both the north and south side. There was a culvert. The second picture shows a culvert that was undersized and it was actually failing. The bottom left-hand picture is a picture of the overgrown Farley bog after it was abandoned and it was going wild or feral. Jen, can you go to the next picture? This is the after. Now, what we did is we removed the earthen dam and the river, we rehabilitated the river by creating a new stream bed. And as you can see in the upper left picture, that's south of Carriage Shop Road, a meandering stream there. The middle picture at the top shows a brand new culvert that was installed. It was funded by the DPW using Chapter 90 funds. And the picture on the right shows north of Carriage Shop Road. Both the north and the south shows that pond gone that warmed the river. The river was moved to the west side of the land there to where it's shaded. The bottom picture on the left shows the wetlands of Farley Bog. The river goes along the far left side where it's heavily treed, and that helps to shade the river. At the top of that picture, you'll see a brand new waterfowl production pond that we created there. The picture on the far right is the Mashpee portion of it, which I'm not going to spend any time on, but the project extended up into Mashpee, and it was part of that $3 million project. Next slide, Jen. This is a picture of the monthly temperatures of the Childs River. As you can see, based on each year, the temperatures during the period of time from May, the numbers at the bottom show the months of the year, from about May until the middle of September, the temperatures are just untenable for any kind of brook trout to survive. After the project, shown by the 2021 and 2022 line, we have temperatures that are really ideal for brook trout to survive. We call this kind of the Goldilocks zone because the temperatures of the river are now neither too hot nor too cold. And what we have found, I had hoped that we could embed a video that we have of the actual brook trout in the stream, but we don't have access to YouTube. Steve Hurley, who is the Massachusetts biologist, recently in September did an electroshock fish sampling and tagged 84 trout in the Upper Childs River. And this is the first time in about a century that we have had any substantial population of fish in that river. So that's the long and short of what I'd like to present to the to town meeting. And I'd also like to thank the Concom, the Board of Selectmen, CPC for helping to fund this, the DPW for the work that they did on the new culvert, as well as other departments that have been involved. So we are very, very grateful. We've completed the project, except for, as I said, some of the water quality testing and the fish sampling. But we're ecstatic. And one other piece of news, we came in under budget. So we're happy about that. I learned a lot from Betsy Gladfelter. I have to thank her especially. The work that she did on the Coonamessett River is nothing short of amazing. He helped me to a great deal. Sam Patton has been out to the project and he has been our contact on the CPC. So thank you, Sam, for your involvement too. Thanks again to the Concom for making that recommendation in that Article 3. And I'd look for your approval for me to make a report to town meeting.
And I have a question. I
Surely.
don't have a problem with this or anything, but is this the right avenue to do a presentation during committee reports? Don't they have a time for stuff like that? No?
They do. Yes, they do. It's under Article 2, but the reports. Yeah, the reports are for committees boards and departments, and
Yeah,
our project
yeah.
doesn't fit into any of those. And so we're asking Concom, because Concom
I
is
am-
the one that originally set us up for this project.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I do believe that Mr. Anderson reached out to Dave Vieira for his guidance before he approached the board. We've also been in contact with Dave on how we would go about this and the protocol for the Rod and Gun Club to make a presentation under the Concom, and we are getting guidance from the moderator that this can be done.
Okay, I'm not questioning that. I can't believe that town meeting doesn't have a pathway for, you know, a project like this to be presented. So, all right. Anybody have any comments? Betsy?
Yeah, Gary, I think this is a great idea, but I would like you to broaden it a little bit from the point of view of how important these river restorations are. And, you know, I know you're going to reference the Coonamessett, the lower Coonamessett, but could you also mention that the town is now working in the upper Coonamessett? But I mean, it's great to keep the idea of the importance of restoration of these natural habitats. And really it's, even though people say, well, it's not right at the coast, these are really coastal resiliency projects.
Definitely.
And so if you could just put a few words in, and then, yeah, it's great to see these projects in town.
Thank you, Betsy. I will try to do it. Dave Vieira has warned me that we must adhere very strictly to the 5-minute limitation.
I know, I've done it.
Okay.
All right. All right, Courtney?
I have no comments, except it's a great thing. And it does dovetail very nicely with what the Coonamessett Restoration Project is. Obviously, they're interrelated.
Yes.
So, you know, if you want a motion, I'll make a motion that we approve.
Not yet. Let
Okay.
everybody comment, please. Kevin?
Just to say it was a great project and is a great project, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Maury? Okay. Melissa?
So kudos to you folks, Gary, for doing that. Thank you very much for doing it. It's nice to see the river temperature actually drop enough to sustain some biodiversity now. So thank you very much for doing that, and look forward to hearing you or seeing you at town meeting. And I don't know, you folks, you had so many slides up there, and the 5 minutes does go really quickly. I don't know if you want to use some paper and have somebody hand out something at the front doors, just so that you can whiz through. And
Melissa's volunteering for
that. Thanks, Jamie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve?
Good suggestion.
It's been a great project. I now drive that way all the time. I never used to go that way, but I do all the time now, and just drive over it. And if conservation doesn't want to do it, I'll talk to CPC tomorrow night about giving the time.
Can't have them. I'm amazed the temperature differences. I mean, vast difference.
Incredible. Yes. There were no
All right,
fish
so
in there before, and there are now.
Yeah. Melissa?
Actually, if CPC sponsored it too, can't they be the umbrella?
Oh,
of
it's
sponsoring
appropriate.
it?
It's appropriate for it to be conservation.
Conservation.
Yeah, I
Let's not
know that.
complicate
We want it.
Wasn't
I-
trying to start something, Mr. Chairman.
No, I got it, but we're going to refuse something like this. Who's kidding who?
Oh, I'm not
All right.
refusing it. I'm just wondering if maybe we should be tag teaming it, but
No,
and have Steve
So-
give the presentation.
no, Steve's going to be handing out brochures with you at the beginning. All right. So,
May I, Jamie, I did ask CPC if they wanted to do it. They apparently have other presentations and asked if I might contact Concom. We're giving you first dibs.
lucky us.
It's
All right,
nice
so
to have
Dennis,
good-
I understand that we're going to be looking for a motion and a second to endorse this presentation under conservation, correct?
Yeah, so Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawks, second.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to endorse this presentation. There's nothing else? All right, we're voting. Betsy?
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa?
Hardtog, aye.
Steve?
That and I.
It is unanimous. We'll give you our blessing, sir.
Thank you very much
A
for
final
your
comment.
time.
I have a question, Jamie.
I have all the answers.
Has everybody seen the little video that of the fish at the Charles River? Well, then I'll send it. Have you seen it, Jen? All right. So I'll send it again to Jen and she can send it to everybody. But
Did
it's,
you
it's
send it out
very
already?
exciting.
The link expired, and so one of my colleagues put it out on YouTube, which is the one that I sent to Jen. So Jen has the current address for it, or the current link.
Sure, and she'll send
Thank
it
you.
to us and you'll see that Gary was amazed when he looked at it and all of a sudden realized it was his culvert that they were swimming under.
That's correct. I thought it was a Fish and Wildlife stream or Field and Stream movie first.
Yeah, that was great.
I will send that out.
Good, thanks,
All
Jen.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
So Gary,
Melissa,
go,
take your hand
go,
down.
go to CPC and get them to approve it, then you get 10 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Excellent
No, because they're
suggestion.
gonna want the money back. They're under budget. They're gonna want more money. All right,
What?
let's move on.
No, wait a second, Jamie. Just one more update is that the brook trout are also reproducing now in the lower river at the Coonamessett.
Excellent.
So it's been a very exciting few years for Steve Hurley likes us and we like him.
Yes. Thank you very much for your time and for your endorsement.
Good night, Gary.
Thanks,
night.
Gary.
Good night.
All right. If Betsy's okay with it, I'm gonna move on.
I'm ready.
All right. Next up, request for a continuance for determination of applicability. First up is Mindy Pollock Busey, 193 Coonamessett Circle, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to vista prune according to FWR 10.1810B. Ms. Bergeron,
Yes, the applicant is requesting a continuance until November 9th.
So moved, Carlo Hawks.
Bird, second.
all right. We have a motion and a second to continue this till 11:09. Any questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa,
Hardtog, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this RDA until 11:09. Next up, our request for continuance under a notice of intent. First up, Ronald Simmons, manager, Hammond Pond Parkway, LLC, 14 Ridge Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to replace decking and to replace and relocate 2 float sections on an existing licensed pier. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until December 2nd. We've provided them with this, our staff report, and they are working to address the staff's concerns and requests.
Excellent.
So moved, Carlo Hawks.
Bird, second.
Hardtog,
Second.
second.
All right, we have a motion and several seconds to continue this till 12:02. If there's no questions or comments. Or Melissa, I'm sorry,
12/7, just to be clear.
12:07.
Heather?
Yes, the second is Friday,
Sorry about that. Thank you
worries.
for clarifying that.
just for the record. Thank you.
Oh, that's
Good we didn't want.
in my notes,
That anyway.
you know? All right. We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa,
Right, Tug, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this to 12/7. Next request for a continuance is Peter and Valerie Mazzino, 127 Shorewood Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to conduct invasive species management, to construct and maintain a pier, ramp, and float in Great Pond, and to request a variance from FWR 10.16 1D1. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until December 14th. They need additional time to put together their supplemental information to address staff's concerns and the commission's concerns.
Bird, so moved.
O'Brien, second.
All right. Everyone else is sleeping. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until December 14. Any questions or concerns? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa,
Right, Tug, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until December 14. Next up, under a request for a continuance, Mario Kula and Josephine D'Angelo, 9 Sycamore Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling on pilings, to remove an existing shed and to construct a utility platform and a gravel driveway. Jen?
Excuse me, the applicant is requesting a continuance until November 30th. This is to provide them additional time to address abutter concerns.
So moved, Carlo Hawks.
Bird, so
Gladfelter, second.
Wow. Courtney wins. All right. Any questions or concerns? All right, we're voting. We have a motion and a second to continue this until November 30. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa,
Right, Tug, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this till November 30th. Next up, request for determination of applicability. The first one's already been continued. So it brings us to Voyager Family Trust, 5 Hannafisset Drive, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a generator and mitigation plantings. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so moved.
Carlo Hawks, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa,
Right, Tug, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up is a continued request for determination of applicability. Samuel and Judith LaRusso, 45 Vineyard Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to vista prune according to FWR 10.18, 10B, and to remove invasive vines. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so moved.
Carlo Hawks, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Melissa has a question.
Yeah, I have a question about, just in general now about removing invasive vines. I'm not familiar with this particular piece of property, but is this a very large section of land that's going to be removing the vines?
No, this is the land across the street from Vineyard Street. So it's going to be the beach side. And the vines are only going to be removed from the trees. There's no substantial invasive species removal of shrub material or anything. It's just taking the few vines out of the trees just to protect them.
Okay, so they're not ripping up, you know, a couple 100 square feet of.
Nope, it's very minor.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thanks.
No problem.
Okay, no more questions.
All right. Anybody else? All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. We're voting. Betsy,
Glatfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks eye.
Melissa,
Right, guy.
Steve.
No,
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. All right. Next up, requests for a hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Norman Zarsky, 406 Sequoia Shores Boulevard, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to replace the existing timber retaining wall, with a vinyl sheet piling bulkhead, remove an existing pier and construct an elevated walkway for improved access to an existing licensed dock. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Mike Borselli up as a panelist to present his presentation. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Mr. Borselli, you are up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Michael Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant. And with your permission, I would like to share my screen.
Please do.
The plan before you is the plan showing the proposed work and all existing conditions on the property. The Zarskis own the property at 406 Sequoia Shores Boulevard. It's a typical residential property developed with a house, driveway, lawn areas, and it has the benefit of a licensed pier shown here. The license plan and Chapter 91 license were attached, and this is the configuration on the license plan. It terminates here. The wetland resources in question include land under the ocean for eel pond and land containing shellfish. There is a small coastal beach just seaward of the existing timber wall. There's a section of salt marsh on this side of the beach. There's also a salt marsh area shown here with the green line work. And the balance of the property is within land subject to coastal storm flowage. In this case, from this blue boundary, seaward is a VE 14. And then from the blue boundary landward is AE 12. What the applicant is proposing is to install a very low profile vinyl sheet piling bulkhead wall to replace an existing landscape timber wall. The Zarskis have owned the property for many years, and they have observed erosion occurring on the waterfront. There, you can see by the shape of mean high water that there's sort of an escarped out area, and the beach has narrowed significantly over the past several years. As a reference point, this existing walkway, which I've incorrectly called pier, it's actually just a walkway. The purpose of this was to gain access to this licensed pier. The concept at the time, and there was an order of conditions issued for this, I might add, was at the time the applicant had applied for permission to license this existing dock. Gaining access would mean traversing the salt marsh to gain access to the ramp. So the Conservation Commission approved it with the condition that they build this walkway. The concept being you walk on this and then you cross a beach, not walking on a salt marsh to the access point to the dock. The erosion is such that it's made it so that you can't do that without being in the tidal zone. So that illustrates the type of erosion that has occurred. So as a proactive measure, they want to install the vinyl bulkhead in the same location where the timber wall is located. On page 2 of the plan is a typical section of the vinyl that is showing that it's at its maximum height. It's a low profile. It'll only be 3 feet at most. In most areas, it's only really 2.5. It's driven into the ground using a vibratory camera mounted onto a mini excavator. It's bolted together with whale beams. It's such a low profile, there's no need for tie backs. It'll be driven to a minimum depth of 6 feet. It'll be capped with a timber cap. I've shown 2 different sections in different areas on the land. So that is one element of the proposed project, and that will be located, as I'm showing here, right where the existing timber wall is. The timber wall section would be removed, and then this would be installed in manageable sections. It would abut an existing vinyl bulkhead wall that you issued an order of conditions on a few years ago. Same material, same height, and it would just connect to that so that there's no gap between the two. It would continue along the waterfront and then return at the property line. There were some questions by staff about the installation of this, because this is vegetated with the grove of bayberry native plantings here and as well as over here. The good news is that this is somewhat surgical, if that's the right word, in its installation, and that it's the mini excavator can reach in vibratory that inside the vegetation. There, of course, will be some section right where the wall is where they have to do the work. It's probably limited to about 18 inches. I show a little bit of excavation to install the whale beam. This is probably like a 12 to 18 inch disturbance. So yes, some of the vegetation right adjacent to the wall will have to be replaced. It's predominantly bayberry. On that note, regarding the bayberry, and it was pointed out by staff, that old order of conditions requiring this walkway also came with a condition that there'd be a 15-foot buffer of native plantings installed along the waterfront. Evidently, it was planted because there was I believe there was a certificate of compliance issued at some time, but over time that buffer has diminished, and there's grass in these areas. So the staff is recommending, and we certainly concur, since it was a condition, that there should be a 15-foot wide continuous buffer along here of woody native shrubs, with the exception of a 4-foot gap for access to this dock, which is the second part of this application. The existing licensed dock terminates right at the salt marsh, which is why the previous Conservation Commission members conditioned installation of this walkway. Now that this walkway is not usable and the purpose of it is really no longer viable, the only way to get to this dock is to cross the salt marsh. If you've been to the site, you've seen that, but I could share some photos. This is conditions currently. In fact, the tidal zone is starting to cause damage to this ramp, and the owners are concerned about, they're fearful of even using it because of that. There's another view from the upland that shows the licensed dock. So it's accessible, but it's in need of repair. It is licensed in this position. And then there's another photo just to show you for reference from a further distance, the same issue, but here is the walkway that was conditioned in the original order to get, the concept was walk down this, down some steps across the beach and then onto this, and it's no longer a viable solution. So what we're proposing to do is basically connect this dock to the upland to where the new bulkhead would be. And here's a profile of that. Here's the existing, a portion of the existing licensed pier. Here's the existing ramp that terminates down at the salt marsh edge. What we would do is bridge that, elevate it in accordance with DMF standards of separation from the salt marsh, provide the public access underneath, and then transition back down once you get landward of the salt marsh to a lower level. And here for reference is the low profile bulkhead, and get back to grade. So part of the project would be to expand this access to the upland. And I had mentioned this is a velocity zone. So you have used your discretion in the past in expanding docks and velocity zones. There's two cases that I was involved with, one where you decided it wasn't a good solution, and in the other one you decided it was a viable solution. I'm gonna pick up on the staff's recommendations and point out to you that part of the application is to remove this structure from the velocity zone and trade that, if you will, against an expansion to bridge the salt marsh as I showed on the profile. I've calculated those areas and I've highlighted them here in blue. If this is removed, it's 129 square feet. And if this is added, it's 124. So it's a net, effectively the same, but slightly, it's actually a slight decrease in structure in a velocity zone. So I think that sums up what I was going to present to you. I will, one more thing. If you went to the site and saw the stakes, I'm showing a construction access on this side and an alternative access on this side. If you saw the stakes, this isn't a viable access. There's too many trees here, and this is viable. The mini excavator can get by this pine tree and skirt along the edge of the vegetation off the driveway. I would expect, if you were to approve this, that we'd have to submit a revised plan that showed the buffer. And I think that sums it up, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Mike. Jen.
Yes, thanks for the square foot difference, Mike. That's helpful. Next time, just kind of try to do that beforehand, and also put the existing configuration on the plan so we can match it to the Chapter 91. We didn't know where the old dock was.
Yeah, the plan shows it in its configuration.
Yeah, but we don't know where the old dock is and where the new one is. It's just not clear on this plan.
Oh,
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, where it terminates, you mean? Okay.
Yeah, so that just will be helpful in the future so we can compare it to the Chapter 91 to make sure it matches what's out there with the Chapter 91 that was issued. Yes, we will need a revised plan showing the vegetation buffer strip. And I think, again, it was helpful for the board to evaluate the difference between removing that permitted walkway and just taking it and relocating it to this existing dock to make it easier. So I don't think, unless Alyssa has something else to add, other than that pre-construction meeting, just with the wall installation would be helpful. And the new wall's going behind the existing wall, correct?
It's actually going to go basically right in the same place. We're going to remove sections and of the timbers and then install in the same place.
Okay, great. Alyssa, do you have anything to add?
Just going through the other comments, Mike, I'm not sure, but DEP may need to issue a minor modification if you're moving the walkway. If it's licensed, just may want to reach out to them.
Yeah, understood. We will plan to do that.
Awesome. And since I was going through all these old files, I did notice that the homeowners had an administrative review in 2014 to remove a tree and it was required to be replaced. I'm not sure if it was completed, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Did you not see, was there details on where the tree should be? And
there wasn't details. There was a staff report, but I don't think it was submitted with the actual permit. So I wouldn't hold the homeowners to the details of the staff report, but the actual permit did say it needed to be replaced. I was assuming it would be in a similar location. I didn't see any younger trees out there. Not sure if the commission would want to hold them to that given all these years.
What year was it?
2014.
Okay.
There was a dead oak near the house.
I'll check with the owner.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Commissioner comments, I'm going to start. Mike, can you clarify the old, if you will, old pier, new pier? You have a note that you're removing the existing pier, but in your square footage comparison, you're taking credit, if you will, for the entire old pier, stairs, ramp, everything. Can you clarify that, please?
Yes, so this is mislabeled, and I'm going to correct that too. It says existing.
You're not sharing if that's what your plan is, your intention is.
Sorry.
Thank you.
This is mislabeled existing pier. It should be called a walkway. This is the pier.
No, I'm not splitting hairs on that. It's just, you're saying the whole thing in its entirety is 129 square feet.
Yeah.
Okay, but on your plan, the one I'm looking at, it says proposed removable steps.
Yeah.
Well,
yes. So our rationale was this is a structure in its entirety, and it's in a velocity zone.
Okay. So you're removing it in its entirety?
Yes.
Perfect. That's clear. Thank you. And are you proposing to put a new set of stairs there?
No.
Okay. So with all due respect, your plan is mislabeled then. Actually, you can see it right above your note about 120.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't even read my own plan. I apologize. When this is removed, we do want to reserve the right to be able to have steps to get over that wall. I misspoke. This is proposed. Yes, 2 small steps right there that would be built to get over the wall.
So then your square footage might not be a reduction, Mike. That's what I think Jamie's getting at.
I'm just looking to clarify what's being removed and what's going back.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you were calculating removal from the velocity zone, are you taking credit for the ramp on the existing, that part of the ramp that will be dismantled or destroyed.
This ramp here?
Whatever is currently part of the structure, if you show that in the other view.
All right, yes, so I think I can clarify. So this ramp is to be removed in its entirety, but this will be built. It's the same area. It's the same.
Okay.
It's the same footprint. And now I also didn't really properly address the issue that Jen raised of area. And so these two steps, there's two steps that would be a foot wide by 3 feet long. So 2 by 3 is 6 square feet. So if I deduct 6 square feet from this, I'm at 123 square feet as compared to 124. So, I mean, we're talking about a square foot. If you need me to trim off 6 inches off this walkway or something, I can do that to make the numbers match, but it's effectively an even swap.
Mike, me personally, I don't have a problem with that. I wasn't looking to split hairs on the square footage per se. I was looking for clarity on, again, one depiction looks like you're removing everything, but then you have the note about proposed steps. So I just simply was looking for that clarity.
Yeah, I was in error. We do want this.
Again,
yeah.
Just clarification. All right. More commissioner comments. Kevin, anything else?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Maury?
Am I muted?
Nope.
No,
Nope, I'm not. Okay. First of all, I'm so happy to see that back in the day, we used to make 15-foot buffers on all new docks. Too bad we don't do that all the time now. It'd be so easy. I remember those days. Couple questions, Mike. How are you going to remove the old pilings, and how are you going to install the 2 new 10-inch piles?
That'll all be done by barge that will dock next to the dock and then boom over and remove the small pieces that, if necessary and can't be removed by hand. There's 2 new pilings proposed here and 2 new posts here. These would have to be driven by barge, which would be alongside this dock, and they'd have to work with the tides to keep
I was going
it.
to say, because you have no depths there, so I don't know what the water depth is.
Yeah, well, I mean, the dock existed, so we didn't do soundings, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think a condition that barge float at all tides would be appropriate. And these 2 posts can be hand augered, and these can be hand augered.
Yeah, because those are only 6 by 6.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I was just more concerned about the 2 new 12-inch piles. Those are substantial piles.
Yeah.
And I don't just worry. I mean, you're going quite a bit closer to that salt marsh when you're driving those than the original dock. So we will condition that. And even though we won't be there if it's aground. To know.
Anything else?
No, thank you. Because it does say land containing shellfish, so that was my concern.
Well, I label it land containing shellfish because I think I learned that from you, Commissioner Hollow Hawks, that there's a potential for shellfish there. We didn't do a shellfish survey, so I always try to label it land containing shellfish.
I know, I appreciated that. Thank you.
In a warm and fuzzy feeling, we're all getting along so well. All right, Melissa.
It's age.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, thank you, Jamie. So, Michael, couple of questions for you, and I'll follow up on Maury's land-containing shellfish. The spacing of the decking, is it going to be, how wide apart is it going to be?
Well, let me show you.
Let some light through.
I'm always happy to share my screen when I'm proposing something good. In this case, it's through flow decking.
Yeah.
So it's going to provide 50% minimum sunlight penetration.
Okay, just wanted to confirm that. I didn't see the 50% on there. It's just the through flow. Okay, and two more questions, I think. One is, there is a slate walkway from the house to the old, whatever it was called. So it's not a pier, it's a walkway.
Yes, right here. Yep.
Yeah, that slate walkway, is that going to remain, or do the owners intend to rebuild that to head towards the new pier, or what's the deal with that thing?
That's a good question. I hadn't even thought about it. Basically what that is, I had to look closely. If you've been on the site, it's flagstone pieces.
Yeah.
In the grass.
Slate, flagstone, whatever.
Kind of doesn't really serve a real purpose. If I had my way, I'd propose it to be removed, but I haven't spoken to my client about it. Is it something that's concerning you that you'd want it removed?
Well, I'm just thinking that, you know, if it's superfluous, I mean, it's concerning if they're going to replace it towards the new dock, I guess, because that would just be more land covered with impervious.
Sure, I hadn't thought about it, so.
You could just inquire, because it's going to be to nowhere.
Yeah.
Actually, it's going to be
it'll be to those stairs.
No, it won't be to those stairs. It will, well, yeah, I guess it will be.
I mean, it would stop short of the stairs, but.
Yeah, and it will be to the vegetated 15-foot buffer.
I don't see a real benefit to it, but I can't really say because I haven't spoken to my client about it.
If you could ask them, that would be great to know,
Sure.
please. Thanks. And then, where are my other notes? And I guess it's the southern corner of the new bulkhead. There's all that vegetation there. How are you going to avoid that? Because there's quite a bit there, actually, and you're going to have to cross over the marsh with your new, oh, it's going that far over. Okay.
So when I was presenting this, there's two places where there's actually a buffer here and here, and the branches and some of the plants more than likely will be right where that goes, except of course the timber wall that's there is already there, so there wouldn't be an actual center of a shrub there, but there will be some branches and edges that would probably have to get pruned in order to drive this in place and do the work. So when we do that after it's completed, when they install when they create the required 15-foot buffer from the old order, they would fill in any gaps that may have been disrupted during the installation of the wall.
Okay, because that's a pretty thick bit of vegetation there, especially on the marsh side. And so so they're going to access this from landward when they
they're going to access it from landward, so it's very surgical when
Okay.
they install this. Yeah.
Vertical right there. Okay, thank you. And then one last question about the new bulkhead. It is vinyl. Why not wood?
Oh, the vinyl composite sheet piling is a new technology, and it's a much better product. So it's the material of choice now when we do these walls.
Latest and greatest.
But it's vinyl, so it's going to be shedding plastic particles once the water gets up to it. That will then go into the I guess, what is that? The pond there.
I don't know if that's the case. This is like the industry standard along all waterfronts, and I have never seen documentation where that's a concern. It's a composite material. It's designed not to shed.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. I was envisioning vinyl coated as opposed to composite.
Oh no, it's a very tough, rigid plastic material. It's about a quarter of an inch thick, and it's creates like sheet piling made out of a very rigid plastic,
Yeah.
vinyl plastic composite.
Yeah, and I guess I'm concerned about plastic particles
No.
going into the ocean, but I'm not going to say anything more. It's just a heads up for future stuff. Just think about that. Okay, I guess that's it for my questions for now. Thank you.
Steve,
Great. Can you leave this up for a second? My question is related to the actual distance of new dock. Where did you measure from? Like from where the steps go up there for that?
Are you talking about this area?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so from here, this direction is the new section. Maybe I should go to the other one with the shading. This. So that's 124 square feet, as opposed to this, which was 129, but I have to add back the 2 steps that would be there.
Yeah, I understand that. But with your new construction, the point the blue begins, is that where the end of the ramp is that goes into the marsh?
Yes, that would be this position right here, where I'm highlighting with the arrow on this photo.
And that's where you measured from for the new distance?
Yes.
When I look at your scale, it doesn't seem to add up to that much, but I'll take your word for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's all.
Steve, you good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Betsy.
Mike, I actually think this is a great solution. I can't believe that in the past, a walkway was permitted plus a dock that you had to walk across the beach to get to it. So I think this is a much cleaner solution. It's going to be much better for the people at the end. And you've come up with some interesting projects in the last month or so.
I don't pick them, they come to me.
Yeah, but you solve problems, which is good.
Thank you.
That's all, Jamie.
All right. Courtney?
I have no questions. I think I echo Betsy's comments that I think you've thought this thing through well. Melissa raised an interesting question about the issue of the vinyl piling, and not that this should be any way contingent on this project. Is there any way you could get some documentation from the manufacturer that would provide some solid information to the commission and to Melissa on this?
I can certainly reach out to them and try to get documentation.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. I'm not trying to, create another problem for you to do during your busy day, but, it might make sense if this question ever comes up again, we have an answer.
Yeah, I'm happy to do a little research. I can tell you from my firsthand experience and like on this project in itself, right next door, I was over checking out the one that you guys approved probably 6 or 7 years ago, if you remember, over here. And I walk around and I look at these things and see how they're holding up. There was no evidence of any spalling or shedding of plastic particles on this one. It's the same exact material, but I'm happy to do a little research.
Yeah, I mean, it's more a footnote to this project rather than a condition.
Yep. Thank you, I get it.
All right. Mike, is the water and electric gonna be retained?
To be honest, I don't think there's even water and electric to this dock. I don't have any knowledge of water and electric to this dock. If we were to propose that, I'd probably show it on my standard cross section, right? Yeah.
No, I saw it on site. I saw a water line and I saw.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, you looked closer than I did. I just assumed there wasn't anything because it's not connected to shore.
Yeah, the water line is closest to the, where you just had your cursor on the new part, yep. On the left, the top side of that.
Well,
And then the electric was probably halfway between the two.
I don't know where they go from there, but it would be nice to continue to, like, all docks have those when this is built and elevated properly.
Yeah, I just made the assumption they go to the dock, or intended to, because they go under that or through that retaining wall. So I guess if they're existing, you're allowed to reuse them. All right, if you would, Mike, stop sharing, please. All right, any other comments or questions from the staff? Nope. All right, commissioners, Melissa?
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, Michael, Courtney's suggestion would be really well appreciated. Then I won't be asking you every time you propose a dock that could give some plastic particulates and shed some plastic particulates into the ocean. Be really nice. Okay. So thanks. I'll look for some too.
Thank you.
Betsy.
So Melissa brings up a good point about the problems with plastics, but you also have to realize if you were to do, you suggested wood. And so wood has the problem of either having treated wood or hardwood from the tropics that is, depleting the tropical forests. So I think this is something, a conversation you might want to have away from an NOI. But the fact is there's pluses and minuses to all these different approaches.
All right.
Which is
It
why
is
I
kind of the-
suggested it being a footnote rather than a condition.
Right. This is the new norm, so. All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to close the hearing, take it under advisement. Pat.
Second.
Wait,
One thing, Mr. Chairman, Mike, we're gonna need that revised plan with the old dock on it. The buffer zone shown on it.
and
Yep.
And
two
those little
stairs.
steps. No, you have those little steps proposed.
Yep. Those are going to continue to be proposed.
Okay.
And if the slate walk pieces are going to get removed, I'll note that too.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If there's nothing further, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. We're going to vote. All right. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carlo Hawks eye.
Melissa.
Right, Tug eye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
Thank you. It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Borselli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, commissioners. Have a good night.
Hi, Mike.
Good
Hi,
night.
Mike.
Good night.
Next up, Andrew Park, 554 West Falmouth Highway, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling. Reconfigure the driveway, install dry wells with all associated grading, clearing, and landscaping. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance to November 9th. There was a miscommunication between staff and Tim Santos of Merrill Engineering Group. We put it on tonight's hearing and he notified his abutters that the hearing was the 9th. So we'll be continuing him to the 9th so that it satisfied the abutter notification. Then we'll be continuing it again until later in November because he did not get us a revised plan. He will be making revisions to his plan and to address some of staff's concerns.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawks.
That's all.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until November 9th. If there's no questions or comments. All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa,
Raja, aye.
Steve.
Matt and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until November 9th. Next one has been previously continued, as has the one after that. Therefore, next up, Michael, continued hearings under notice of intent for the record. Michael and Dorley Bingham, trustees, the Bingham Revocable Trust, 27 Crosby Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to modify the structure of an existing dock. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Matt Costa up as a panelist to present his project, finally, now that we have MIPA.
Mr. Costa, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Matt Costa, Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant here tonight under notice of intent application to rebuild an existing pier. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this property is at 27 Crosby. This is Quoit Bay right here. It's an ACEC. The ACEC boundary runs up this waterway. We're right over in here. And right in this location, you can see the remnants of the pier, or the float really, and ramp. There's the fixed pier in this location. This is the property. So this is all within an ACEC. And just before I get into particulars on the project, this particular project took a different path than most, where we, when we met with Jen, sort of pre-filing to review, we were originally proposing to extend the pier, trying to get it into deeper water, thinking that would be a benefit, reducing pilings, things like that. Because it's an ACEC, it's really difficult, if not impossible, to build new pile supported structures, but enlarge existing ones. Additionally, the existing pier, it's in a very dilapidated state with respect to the ramp and the float. And there was going to take some work in very shallow water. And with the ACEC, Jen suggested we go through MIPA first, which was something we would have to do anyway as part of a Chapter 91 licensing process. So we did that. And it turns out that they just changed the MIPA regulations, and things are extremely difficult now. And we had to file an ENF, which is what you would typically do. And now, because there's a new social justice area designation, it automatically triggers an EIR. So we actually had to file an EIR on top of that. And so we went through this very lengthy process. That was the reason for all these delays in this, these continuances, and how we haven't gotten to you sooner on that. We did receive our certificate from MIPA, so it has been reviewed, vetted, and approved. So if we were able to gain a order of conditions, then we would proceed with Chapter 91 licensing. So I told you where we are at 27 Crosby. We're on Moonakus River on an ACEC. We do have some other resource areas here that we're dealing with. We have a salt marsh. We have a coastal bank. This is a single family pier. If you look real closely, you can see a gray outline of where existing is in reference to where it's proposed. So what you have right now is this existing fixed elevated walkway. And then you have a ramp going down to a float. The ramp's actually sitting on the float these days. But what we're proposing to do is remove the ramp, remove the float, and rebuild it as a fixed pier. So right now, if you look, you see water depths that we show here. This is your depth of water at mean low water. So you can see that it gets extremely shallow out here. So we were looking at float stops and things like that. It would require the float to be literally suspended out of the air for long periods of time. So we opted for a fixed pier design. We feel that that's a benefit and will be a net environmental improvement over what exists today. This dock was originally constructed in 1976, and it's been documented over the years in aerial photographs. It actually had an RDA approving its reconstruction back in 93-ish after Hurricane Bob wiped it out. They rebuilt it. They never obtained a Chapter 91 license. However, because the pier existed before the ACEZ designation, which Wacoit Bay was designated in 1979. So because the dock existed prior to that designation date, we will be able to obtain a Chapter 91 license for this. Part of that requirement for Chapter 91 license does require a MEPA review when in an ACEZ. And as I stated before, we actually flipped the schedule around and we did that ahead of time. So I have a high level of confidence that we do have the ability to rebuild this pier in this location. What we're proposing is not any wider, any longer. It does make an improvement by removing any possibility for a float bottoming out. The staff report for this project did include a note about pressure treated material, which will revise the plan for that accordingly. But I just wanted to actually bring that point up, is that there is pressure treated wood there now. And what type of wood that is not your CCA pressure treated. It's a different type where it's, bear with me 1 second. It's a Madison wood product. It's called a Micro Pro, and it has actually a certification. It's an EPP certified. It's called Carper's Micro Pro. It's EPP certified. That's an environmentally preferred product. So we're hoping that you will be okay with this product that's there now. And we would be happy with a condition of no CCA pressure treated wood. We didn't do a shellfish survey for this project. We're not enlarging it in any way. It is not very viable shellfish habitat. We do call it land containing shellfish because we didn't do a survey. This project, though it doesn't meet your current performance standards for piers, we do believe that it meets the requirements for preserving, rebuilding, and maintaining this pier. And we are respectfully asking that you issue an order of conditions. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Matt. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Staff can't speak to the product that Matt just mentioned because we just heard about it. So we're still going to stand by no pressure treated or chemically treated wood. I mean, that's typically what the board requires. the board can discuss it, and I can quickly try to look this product up and see what I can find out about it being used in the aquatic environment.
Well, I
Matt,
think
do
the
you have any
language we've used
information
in
on
the
it in
past-
the aquatic environment? Because right now I've just looked up Madison Wood, would you say Micro Pro, and all I'm seeing is decks and everything. I'm not seeing anything for use in the in an aquatic environment. Okay, wait, docs, here we go. Preservative and retention. Okay. I don't even know what this means. I would have to look this up.
You're on mute, Matt. Sorry.
Oh, wait. No, I wasn't. Could you hear me? You can't hear
We
me?
can hear you now.
We can hear you now.
Okay, so we're okay with the condition of no pressure treated wood. If you would allow staff to give the determination on this being used or not, that would be fine. And if the staff doesn't feel comfortable with it, we can replace the two, there would be two affected pilings. They're 6x6 posts that would need to be replaced. So we're okay with that as well. I would just hate to continue it over review of that material, that's all.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I know in the past we've used the language of no CCA. So if there's a new product out there, I mean, we need to learn about it anyway. So, all right, anything else, Jen?
No.
Ms. Bergeron.
So Matt, just to clarify on the point that you made, is everything being replaced except the pilings for the dock reconstruction?
No, not everything.
Okay.
We shaded out the area, and I'm happy to share the screen again if that's more convenient.
Sure.
But we shaded out the area of what's being replaced. How about I just show it? Let's see.
Thanks, Matt.
So this right here is what is being replaced. We ideally would like to keep what's here. And that material right there is that. I even keep forgetting the name of it. It's that Micro Pro, Copper's Micro Pro.
Now, wasn't that the portion of the pier reconstructed without a permit?
It was.
And it does say that it is composite grading with 50% light penetration on your fixed pier side view. Is it currently through flow decking?
It is not. This area right here would not be. This area right here would be through flow.
And it's going over the salt marsh.
Correct.
It should be all 50% light penetration over that marsh.
Just considering that it was replaced recently, which we would have required.
Okay, so at that point then, we might as well, or we could easily come up with a different post than the pressure treated if that review does not come back favorable.
Sounds fair.
That was my only question. Thank you.
That wasn't the question.
Okay. Commissioner comments, Betsy.
Where's Matt? Matt, I sympathize with you for having to go through the MEPA process. We're dealing with that with the Upper River right now. It's
they made some really unfortunate changes, and if you're in this new economic zone, it's kind of banana land. They treat you like it's a nuclear power plant.
Yeah, well, we're near 7 different EJ communities in the Upper Coonamessett, believe it or not. So it's it's a challenge, and I'm not sure what the state is attempting to achieve by this.
I do believe that there's some efforts underway to fix that situation. We hired a consultant for a different project who used to be ahead of MEPA and has been in contact with the director directly on this. And we're hoping that there's some changes that come down in the next 6 months or so that do not require small projects to go through this process, even if they are in that economic zone.
Or restoration projects.
Or
Yeah,
rest. Yes.
Yeah, it was just sort of a catch-22 with this
For the
change.
environmental impact report, we asked what we should provide for them, given the size of the project, and the examples that they sent us were like a submarine docking facility.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, again, you had it. You had a difficult project here. I mean, difficult because of the regulatory requirements, but it seems pretty straightforward what your request is. I'm not sure about the what Alyssa brought up, whether you may want to think about replacing that end with whatever product is decided upon.
If the commission would like to see through flow throughout, then we would be happy with that condition. I think that makes sense.
Okay. That's all, Jamie.
Courtney.
No questions.
Okay. Matt, good project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to apologize first to both Betsy and Matt, but I've been enjoying this whole discussion. When I was head of engineering and construction at MWRA, I dealt with MEPA on every one of my projects. So good luck to you in the Red Sox. No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Maury.
I think for the CCA question everybody had, we say it can't be, it can't be that anymore. And I believe it's ACQ. I'm not sure, but I think that's what they changed, the new treated wood. And it's a copper instead of an arsenic. It leaches very minimal. So that's why we switched from CCA to ACQ. Pretty much you can't even get CCA anymore in a lot of places.
Right. If you go to a lumber store, everything's ACQ these days.
Yeah.
The property owner actually found this product on his own and used that product himself. I didn't hear about it until now.
Yeah. This is good to know that we have another alternative as well.
Right.
One of the questions I did have, Matt, was you're removing the 2-inch pipe piles and you're putting in 10-inch piles. And as you said, it's really shallow. There's no water there. It's in shellfish. It's in the ACEC. How are you going to perform 10-inch piles? I know you said you're going to set them and then drive them. No jetting them, I assume. But usually they do jet.
Yeah, it's going to be very tight timing on tides. And we're going to have to work closely with the tide cycle for getting in there. Be close to full moon tide cycles and be working at high tide, and it would be going in, setting 1 or 2, whatever they could, and then they'd have to back out and wait for the next cycle.
Okay, yeah, because that's, I'm really concerned more about, the barge. It will be aground unless it is a moon tide. And even then it's going to be dicey. You have a very limited amount of time. And the flow through, I think, would be really good because, you don't have to do a shellfish survey because it's a pre-existing dock license. But we all know that there's a lot of shellfish there. So it would just benefit all the way around for the environment to do that. And so mostly be, and then on number 6 on your pier construction notes, I'm sure it's just a boilerplate, but there is no flotation. It says all flotation material associated with new float.
Must be that's what we call a holdover.
Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't doing something else there. Other than that, thank you. I do commiserate with you having to go through all that regulatory permitting. We're not so bad now, are we? We look good. Thank you, Matt.
He didn't jump right in to agree with you on that one. But, all right.
Oh, yes, he did. I could tell he agreed.
Yeah.
You guys are my favorite board.
You say that to every board.
Yeah, I haven't asked my questions yet, Matt. So thank you for the project, the presentation. Yes, the through flow decking, please. would like to see that. A question about the dock and then a comment or request maybe. If the water's less than a foot, what's the purpose of the dock?
To access the water.
Are they going to be putting kayaks out there, or they try to have some kind of motorized vehicle, motorized vessel or sail vessel?
They could time it and get in and out. They do have close to a foot. You could put a Carolina skiff at the terminus of it. I mean, a dock is something they've had for decades, and everybody has a, waterfront property owners have a right to access the water, and they want to maintain that right.
Okay, just wondering what they were. Yeah, okay. Seems a little shallow. My question for you, though, on your MIFA permit on page, is it 4 at the top? There's a comment. However, DMF notes that the proposed fixed pier is 6 feet wide, while most private docks in Massachusetts are 4 feet wide. And DMF encourages the proponent to consider reducing the terminal pier width to 4 feet for the entire length of the structure to reduce shading impacts to bordering salt marsh and underlying aquatic habitat. And I think that's a fine idea. And so I'm wondering then, why do we have 6 feet and not 4 feet on your second section of dock there?
Sure. That's the size that the float was, and that's the size that they would like to maintain. With the through flow decking and the fixed pier design, we're making an improvement over what exists.
You need the full 6 feet?
That's what they would like, and that's what they have a right for.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Like the through flow decking, at least, please, as a condition.
Proposed. All right. Steve.
I don't have anything to add, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat.
Thank you. Anything additional from the staff? Anything additional from the commission? Anything additional from the applicant? Trying to be fair, man. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to close a hearing, take it under advisement.
Bird, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. If there's nothing further, we're voting. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
Ryan, aye.
Maury.
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Melissa.
Tog, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Cox.
you. Have a good night.
Night, Matt.
Aye, Matt.
All right. The next hearing has been previously continued, which brings us to other business. Ms. McKay. Oh, wow, Mrs. Lincoln.
Ooh, fighting words. Thank you, Jamie. Just two quick
Oh,
things
yeah,
for the board. Just a reminder, tomorrow on Zoom, there is the open space and recreational plan. You were all invited and received a flyer. Your participation will be greatly appreciated if anybody can attend. Again, it's on Zoom. And if you'd like, I can send the flyer again so you have the address. And it's just to get input from local land nonprofits, concerned citizens, a board like yourselves to provide input for our open space plan. So that's tomorrow on Zoom. And the second thing is I just forwarded you all just an FYI for you. The proposed regulations, just as not wetlands regs, DEP Title V has proposed new regulations that would require all residents in a nutrient impaired watershed. Maury, have you heard about this?
I've heard about it. APCC has a big article about it.
Yeah. To convert to anyone in the watershed, including someone like me, and I am 4.5 miles away from Little Buttermilk Bay, to install an innovative system within 5 years, unless the town has I think it's a comprehensive watershed plan, and implement that plan in 20 years. I sent you the link of the proposed regulations just in case you were interested and wanted to attend one of the public comment periods or provide comments. That's all.
Thank you. That's, and everybody really should read those.
Yeah.
Can I get a clarification?
Sure, Court.
Is that that it's within 5 years, everyone has to upgrade, or only when you have to upgrade?
The way I understand it is everyone would have to upgrade unless the town had a comprehensive watershed plan to be implemented in 20 years. I sent you the proposed regulations, Courtney. Look at the red line version. That's the easiest one to follow.
Okay.
Melissa?
I read them real quick. I've just been on the edges of this, so I don't really have any in-depth answers, or could maybe answer your question, but Melissa, you can try. I'll try to see what I can say.
Actually, the question's about the prior notice.
Okay.
So what time is the Zoom meeting tomorrow? For open space?
I believe it's at 6 o'clock. It's either 6 or
this
6:30. I will I'll send you the flyer.
Please
again.
resend the flyer. Yeah.
I will. Absolutely. I'll send the flyer tomorrow morning.
Thanks so much. Okay.
Betsy?
Yeah, and this is on the same thing just Melissa just asked. I can't go to that because I have another meeting then, but the next day they'll have the discussion posted on the planning board website.
Right.
So if you want to I'd like to comment, but I'd like to hear what other people had to say also. So there will be an opportunity to do that.
Mark Kasperzik will be attending. I unfortunately cannot, but Mark will be on the Zoom call for the staff. But if any of the commissioners can attend, I'd encourage that. It should be a good discussion.
I plan to.
Good. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Melissa. I'll resend the flyer tomorrow morning when I get in, so you have it.
Thank you, Jen.
Anything else? All right. You know what we're looking for.
I move that we close this evening's meeting.
Carlo Hawk, second.
We adjourn, excuse me.
Gladfelter, aye.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Freitag, aye.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.